Hi, I'm Dr. Lisa Medaglia, here to talk to you about removal of parent involvement with sleep. We know that a lot of you parents out there are involved with your child's sleep. It makes the night go easier if you just sit there with your child or let them come into your bed, and then it's just not as much stress and everybody maybe gets more sleep. But I'm here to discuss why that might not be the best long-term solution. It really is important that your child learns how to sleep independently because it's an important skill that helps them grow and nourish and develop. It's really a resemblance of coping. If they can self-soothe and transition themselves into sleep, that's a great sign of resilience and that will help them get through their days and for the rest of their lives. And you want to have your time back to yourself in your evening. And the way to do that is to teach children how to be independent with sleep. There are two main approaches for teaching children to get independent with sleep. And when I'm saying children, I can be referring to babies or toddlers or even school-age kids who are using parent involvement to help them with sleep. The first is called rapid removal of parent involvement. For this one, put your child down, awake but drowsy, and not return until morning. This is not easy because you're going to get a lot of crying, a lot of screaming, and it's really hard on parents. Parents feel very guilty hearing all the crying and screaming, and they feel stressed by it. Sometimes they get so distraught that they end up going in there when they hear the loud crying, and then that just teaches the child to cry loud for longer next time. But it actually works pretty quickly. If you can learn to tolerate the stress of hearing the crying, then it actually, after 7 to 10 nights, typically the crying will extinguish and then the child will be able to sleep on their own. If this doesn't sound like an approach that you'd be able to handle, there's another strategy, another type of approach that might be a better fit. And that's called gradual removal of parent involvement from sleep. This involves two different steps. First, you use something called camping out, where every 3 nights you move yourself further and further away from your child. So the first 3 nights, you would be right next to the bed. So if it's a toddler or a kid that's already in a bed, you'd lay next to them while they fall asleep. If it's a baby, you'd sit next to the crib and put your hands on their back until they fall asleep. Next 3 nights, you would sit next to the child while they fall asleep, then on the edge of the bed, then in a chair next to the bed, then in the middle of the room, then by the doorway, and so on. After you've completed camping out, you would move into scheduled checks. Scheduled checks mean that you tell your child to go to sleep and I'll be back to check on you. When you go back to check on them, you only pop your head in for 1 minute. You don't want to say anything. No physical contact, no interaction, just show your face, don't say anything, and then leave the room. You do this every 5 minutes for the first 3 nights, then every 10 minutes for the next 3 nights, then every 15 minutes for the next 3 nights, and so on. Eventually, if you follow these steps, your child will be sleeping on their own. This works. It takes 3 to 4 weeks to get through the protocol, but it's very important that you stick with it and you stay consistent. If there are 2 parents involved, making sure to pick the parent that's more likely to be strict and stick with the protocol is recommended. And make sure that you don't deviate. And just because everybody's overtired, let them come into the bed one night. Not a good idea. Then you're right back to where you started. So stick with the plan and keep going no matter what reactions or responses you see from your child, and then they'll have better nights, and so will you.